Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Nerds of the North podcast, episode number 18, complete with not live video, but video from both ends for both hosts. As always, host number one, my name is Matt. Joining me today, as always, is host number two,
Nick.
And today we will be discussing the first two episodes of the new Disney Plus exclusive from Marvel, What If? Very interesting show idea. I've been really excited for this series to come out, and we have two whole episodes to talk about today. So, Nick, what did you think about the first two episodes? We can go through one at a time, do whatever we need to do, but let's hash this shit out.
Okay. Man, just thrown right in there. But okay, so I guess we'll start with episode one. So my feelings about episode one, and maybe before we get started on this, I'm gonna pull up my blog, if that's all right with you.
Of course.
We're gonna share my screen. We're gonna go to Chrome. All right, can you see my screen?
Loading. Here we
go. Okay, cool. All right. So, yeah, first episode. To be honest, I mean, I like how my mind works exactly the same as how I write on here. But to be honest, I was a little underwhelmed, at least by the first episode. I just didn't think. I thought it was kind of just a rehash of the first Avenger, just with Peggy Carter. It wasn't really exciting, and there wasn't really anything like I was like surprised about. It kind of played out exactly, I guess, how I would think that idea would play out. Though I did think the action was pretty great in that episode. In fact, I've heard over and over again from other people that they actually thought the action was better in What If, an animated show, than the actual live action movies, which I just brought it up, so I actually kind of agree with. Like, it was pretty great. And actually that's probably my favorite part about What If. Though I guess the other thing that I did like about it, I did like the theorizing about it. We can get into that more because, man, my mind went kind of crazy with the tentacles coming out of the Tesseract portal, because that could kind of link into some Doctor Strange stuff going on in the future, and I think we should definitely get into that.
go. Sure.
As far as the animation style, like, I didn't really dig it the first episode, but I mean, I might as well move on to the second episode, because I thought the second episode was a huge improvement. I liked it a lot, and I actually, after the first episode, I wasn't expecting to really like it that much, but I thought the second episode was genuinely funny. Like, genuinely, like, I was kind of surprised by some of the choices they made. I actually really liked that they made some characters that were enemies of, like, the original Star-Lord, friends of this Star-Lord, especially Thanos. And I thought Korath was actually a great addition. I thought the guy that acts, I can't remember the actor's name, but I thought he was actually surprisingly funny, which based
being
on
a like huge fanboy of
yeah,
Star-Lord, like,
yeah, I really enjoyed that. But I don't know, I think, like, historically I've always kind of found that sort of funny when, like, there's one character that's like kind of like a fanboy of the other one. But yeah, I really dug that. I thought it was really cool. Thanos was, I thought they did I actually kind of like this Thanos a lot, and I kind of want them to bring him to cross over into, like, the main MCU timeline. I think that'd be really fun.
right.
What was, like, oh, I know some people like hate Howard the Duck, but I was genuinely happy to see him voiced by Seth Green, and I was also, when he shot him out of his confines, I was, like, really excited that he was actually going to join up with the team, but then he didn't. So I was a little bummed. I know some people don't like that character, but I was excited to see him play a more active part. I guess the one thing I didn't like, and I will say this is kind of a criticism I have for both episodes, it seems to be kind of a running theme so far. I don't really like that they made Star-Lord, even in, like, the original Star-Lord, Chris Pratt. That's a really hard name to say, by the way. Chris Pratt. And so, like, his original Star-Lord, and it's kind of like they made him even worse, because now it's like they're basically saying, oh well, like, he I mean, is Chris Pratt happy about that? Like his character is basically saying like he's like terrible because look at the terrible situation he created. But if it had just been this other guy, uh, T'Challa, like, oh man, like things would have like never happened like that. Like Thanos would have been a good guy. And then that's kind of the same with like Peggy Carter. Like I almost feel like I won't say that 100% because like things played out later in the episode, but she was able to get like the Tesseract so much quicker than he was, and I'm like, oh wow,
Mhm.
like it's not really fair to Steve that he like Peggy was all of a sudden like able to do things that he was never able to do, but then of course they lost the Tesseract later in the episode, and um,
Mhm.
things played out a little bit differently. But I don't know. I kind of don't like how they like have to diminish the original character to like raise up like a new character when they put them into that role. And oh man, now that I'm thinking about it now, like I don't want to like make that seem like it's some sort of like I don't know, like incel thing where like, oh, I don't want like a like a black man doing as good as white man because I really don't care about that stuff. But I don't know, like it just kind of I just don't like really I don't like that, I guess. But
I mean, that was a major issue of mine with your critique of the first episode of What If. Is that like, of course, Peggy's gonna be better than Steve. She's military trained. She's a fucking secret agent, man. She has military training in weapons and hand-to-hand combat. Of fucking course, she's gonna be a better Captain America than Steve was. He was a scrawny little boy from Brooklyn. He had no training whatsoever prior to his transformation into Captain America. So of course she's better. Like, there's a whole show about Peggy Carter doing her thing. Like, so it totally makes sense for her to be better. Um, and then I think it just leads into her strengths. Steve's strengths are like his loyalty and his convictions, whereas like Peggy is definitely a little bit more on the intelligent side and definitely thinks things through in a more thorough fashion, which kind of leads a little bit for her like military background.
I think for me, I think Peggy Carter is just sort of a boring character. Like Steve is a boring character too, but the reason why I like Steve is because he just has like such like strong convictions. I'm not saying that Peggy doesn't, but I just kind of feel the way that Chris Evans tells it, I kind of believe it a little bit more, if that makes sense. And I'm not like trying to bring her down or anything. I've never really connected with her character in the MCU. Um,
But
but
I
I
mean,
don't know. It's just more of a personal preference. I'm not saying I'm right or wrong here.
sure.
I just don't dig her character all that much, to be
Oh yeah.
honest.
No, yeah. I mean, I do still very much disagree. Like, mind
Okay.
you, I don't think that Peggy versus Steve in terms of like them being interesting. I have an affinity for Steve that I don't have for Peggy because outside of What If and the films that we've seen in the MCU, I don't
Yeah.
really have, excuse me, a connection to the character. But within the context of What If, like I really enjoyed her rendition of the character, and I thought it was like a cool take, especially her being a woman during that time frame, helping the U.S. military as a English officer, like lends itself, very differently to what Steve's experience was. They put Steve out front and center in front of everyone because they're like, look at our big, strong soldier man who fights for the U.S. But then as soon as Peggy becomes the super soldier, they're like, nope, sorry, cut that shit out. We don't want women getting any ideas about being in the military. Like,
Yeah.
that was not a message the U.S. military was interested in serving during World War II. Just wasn't.
I just want to say this too before people start wondering, but yes, that is a new room behind Matt that you're seeing,
Oh,
and
yes.
he doesn't have his microphone because I think he couldn't find it.
I have the whole damn fucking setup for it right here. You see this? The shit is here, but the damn cable isn't fucking here.
Yeah.
Uh, this is what happens when you move. You go mad,
Yeah.
and then you find things and you go back to normal.
Yeah. I don't mean to diminish your love of this show, of What If, or the first episode specifically. I guess I wasn't like the second episode versus the first episode is like totally different for me. Like I actually really like the second episode a lot. The first episode, I think I mentioned this before, like I just feel like
Mhm.
it was exactly what I was expecting it to be. Like it played out exactly how I would have expected it to go.
I mean, I agree with you there. Like, I think that the scope between the two episodes is wildly different. Like, episode one just does retell the story of Captain Fill in the Blank.
And I think it got
With
better. Sorry,
Mhm.
I think it was better too the further they got away from
Mhm.
like the just recapping the old story of First Avenger. Like by the end of it, I thought it was getting better.
Mhm.
When they like did the Red Skull doing the Tesseract to bring in the tentacled creature who some have called Hive, and others believe it's some sort of connection to Shem Goroth. If I'm
Sure.
pronouncing that right? Anyway,
Yeah. Shuma Gorath.
Shem
Is that what
Gorath.
it is?
My bad.
Yeah.
Oh man,
But
gotta
yeah,
nail
no,
that.
like I love the reprising of so many of these moments. I guess like very briefly, clearly we both gushed over the second episode, but god damn it, was that second episode so fucking good.
It was really good. They did such a good job, and all the voice actors were great. I thought in the second one.
Let it be noted too that pretty much everyone came back to reprise their role as their voice, even as like very small parts like Ego. Kurt Russell fucking came back for that
Yeah,
for his like one line,
and the
except
guy that voiced
for
Thanos,
yeah, Josh Brolin.
Josh Brolin. Yeah,
Yeah, like most everyone came back with two notable exceptions being Drax. Dave Batista didn't come back for Drax,
which
and Chris
apparently was because
Pratt.
he wasn't invited, is what he claimed. But
Interesting. And then obviously Chris Pratt for his very
yeah,
small set of voice
I don't even.
lines.
Did he even have a line? I bet he did.
He
I just
did.
I
He's
don't.
like, I think he said something like, "Sorry, we're closed." He's mopping,
Oh, yeah.
listening to music. Um,
It didn't even really look like Chris Pratt, to be honest.
no, they didn't really like model him to look so much like
I want to say
Chris
one
Pratt.
thing too before I forget. If
Mhm.
you watch Suicide Squad and you look at the like the end credits, there is somebody in the movie called Crisp Rat, and they don't go into any more detail except that. And I'm like, was that a reference to Chris Pratt? Chris Pratt?
Wasn't the Chris Pratt one of? It would have to have been one of Ratcatcher 2's.
I don't know. I was just curious because like I don't know. Sorry, that was totally off the rails.
But yeah, no, like that second episode just really like blew the hinges off what, because like episode one sets up the notion of like things can be different in the MCU, possibly with small changes to what happened in events. Episode two says like, do we say things could be kind of different? Things are gonna be so fucking different. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like fucking Nebula being a blonde and like well adjusted as fuck. T'Challa being Star Lord, Thanos being a good guy, and like joking about how like, yeah, I kind of had this plan, but T'Challa talked me out of it. And it was like,
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's still pretty pragmatic, and everyone's like, oh, Thanos.
It was
Like,
efficient, is what he said.
yeah, just like so funny
Yeah.
seeing all these characters interact in this way. And oh man, like just the relationship between oh shoot, why am I forgetting his name?
Uh, Crap, I'm forgetting his name too.
Yondu. There we go.
Yondu. Yep.
Yondu and T'Challa, that like father-son relationship, like just was even more wholesome than his relationship with Quill. And I will say this: I hate Peter Quill for a number of reasons, but in my opinion, no shit, T'Challa's a better Star Lord than Peter Quill. Peter Quill sucks at everything, but unfortunately, it's because he's kind of the like a factor of his upbringing. Like he was like at the time that he got taken into space, he was like he ran away from his cancer-ridden mother, and in that moment of running away from her and away from his problems, he's blasted into space by the Ravagers in Yondu, and like forced into a life of being a petty criminal.
Yeah.
Whereas like T'Challa is like being raised to be the literal king of a nation, of a wildly superior, like economically, technologically, like nation. And his only issue with his family was that he wanted to explore, and his dad was like, but responsibility. Like the backgrounds are just so different there.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this is that I know sometimes there's always a fear, I think, that we all have that what if someone else was put in our place? Would they have done better in that circumstance?
Mm-hmm.
And
Sure. I think that's a reasonable.
I just, part of me, when I see that, when they do that on that show, it makes me like put myself into Peter Quill's position or into like Steve's position. And I'm like, it makes me feel kind of like bad for them. It's like, I don't think that just because it just kind of like seems sort of weird. I'll say that. I don't really like that. If you put that person in that position, oh, that like things would have been great. And I just don't know if I appreciate the spirit of that. But I also enjoyed the episode a lot. And I don't know. I kind of just Peter Quill, it seems like they've just been taking a big old dump on this character recently. I don't really know why. I don't know if like I think part of the appeal of Peter Quill is he's kind of a loser, you know?
I mean, that's the appeal of all of the Guardians, in my opinion. Like,
Yeah.
my wife and
Yeah.
I were just talking about this earlier today. Of like, all of the Guardians are kind of terrible people by themselves. Even like, even if you're looking at feasibly one of the best of them, perhaps would be Gamora, right? She is just content more or less to be the lackey of her genocidal father up until essentially she meets the Guardians. And even then, like in the films, she does ultimately want to betray Thanos, but it's not for the fact of like
Yeah.
saving the universe. It's to run. It's to get away.
I think, and I don't like I think this is a spoil. I don't really know for sure, but it's just what I've heard is that Gamora will be taking up Thanos's kind of mantle within
Ooh,
whatever
see, that
timeline.
would be so cool.
Yeah, so she's gonna be like her universe's version of Thanos. I don't. That's one thing too. Like I'm not clear whether like if episode 1 and episode 2 are taking place like within the same timeline or if they're like on divergent timelines.
When they initially announced the show, I was under the impression that they were all going to be kind of like one-off episodes, kind of like
Yeah.
a Love, Death, Robots type
Yeah, which I
situation.
mentioned. I mentioned that.
Yes, which is a very appropriate comparison.
Yeah. Good.
But
Yeah.
then we saw a trailer somewhat recently that would kind of imply the opposite, that they would be
They're coming together
interconnected somehow.
Yeah, and
But
apparently, what's his
Mhm.
name? Chadwick Boseman. This isn't going to be his last speaking role within this. Apparently, he's in other episodes of this.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah, but this is obviously his biggest one, so
Mhm.
he'll be in this one more than any of the others.
But yeah, no, that does raise some questions though, because like as shown in your blog there, like we're getting Marvel zombies in this, which I think is fucking dope. I'm very excited for Marvel zombies to show up in this in some capacity. But if they're all interconnected, what are we looking at in terms of their involvement in this?
I don't know. We'll have to wait.
Like
We'll see how it plays out.
I would be really upset if they relegated it to like a brief like multiverse hopping cutscene where they hop into a Marvel zombie universe for a moment. They're like, "Oh shit, this place is terrible," and then they leave, and then that's it. Like,
I'm pretty sure there's a whole episode based on it.
yeah, which would just be so cool.
Yeah, I can guarantee that to you, Matt. It will be a whole episode that they base on the Marvel zombies.
But But yeah, no, I think they're really knocking it out of the park right now. Regardless of whether or not it's an interconnected narrative or if they're all just one-off episodes, I'm on board. I love
Well, I mean,
this.
and clearly at the end of episode 2, they're building something there. I don't know what.
Yeah, I mean, with I think again, yeah, like we're gonna see a version of Peter Quill that's evil. I think ultimately because he isn't going to have the hand of the
Yeah,
surrogate family that is the Guardians
or
to
Yondu for that
or
matter.
Yondu, yeah, like the Ravagers to guide him emotionally through this journey with Ego.
Yeah,
Like he's gonna get picked up by Ego. He's gonna be like, "Hey, you're basically a god. Like, welcome to the party," and gonna fuck some shit up, and it's gonna cause lots of problems. And I'm gonna like Peter Quill even less than I already do.
I gotta say though, I mentioned this up above, in this blog, I should say that
Mhm.
um I really love these like little anthology shows that like they allow like creators to just kind of go crazy with the IP.
Yeah,
Um, and I kind of wish that they could have done something like that with this show. I mean, obviously, it's part of the expanded universe. It's of the of Marvel, but um, yeah, like I love like the Animatrix, and I really loved well, what I was gonna say actually was I'm really super excited for Star Wars Visions, which sort of has a similar idea to this, but I'm so excited for that show. Um,
yeah. I mean, I'm on board for this stuff. Like, this is super
yeah,
cool.
Disney's kind of knocking it out of the ballpark with their Marvel and Star Wars IPs at the moment. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, yeah, everything post Rise of Skywalker, I guess. I mean, Mandalorian's been incredible.
Yeah, I mean next year for
Um,
Star Wars, we're gonna get the tail end of the Book of Boba Fett. We're gonna get Kenobi. We're gonna get season 2 of the Bad Batch. We're gonna get Andor, and we're gonna get Mando season 3, all in 1 year.
that's all in 1 year.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
So like 2022. To be honest with you, like I really dig Star Wars as a TV show, especially if they can keep like Mandalorian level quality going forward. Like I'm totally in for this. I'm actually way into it more than like them making movies. To be honest with you.
It
So
it it lends itself. The universe lends itself so well to these smaller, more intimate stories because there's so much lore to be explored, background stories of all these different races and their interactions with each other. Like my wife and I have been going through and playing the Mass Effect Legendary Edition for like the last several months, and it has been an absolute delight getting back into that series. And it reminds me a ton of Star Wars,
yeah,
in that like the sci-fi setting. You have a like set of main protagonists, but you have their interactions with each other and the relationships between the characters and how they build up over time. Like the only difference between Mass Effect and Star Wars is that like Mass Effect, you get a lot of leniency on your choices and how they interact with the rest of the game, but
yeah. I have like a
yeah.
pet idea that I know you haven't read the Hyperion Cantos,
Mhm.
but like I kind of have a weird theory that like Dan Simmons was like, especially with this like Endymion and Endymion Falls, I think, or it's something like that. I can't remember. Like that he was trying to like almost make like a spiritual sequel to Star Wars and the Force. And damn it, I would have if they could incorporate some of the ideas in those books into Star Wars. Man, I'd be in heaven because that's like an
Uh,
expansion of those ideas. Like I feel like Star Wars right now, they're kind of like after episode 9, it's like where do you go now? I kind of feel like they need to somehow open up the universe and like go crazy with it for it to continue on into the future personally. But
yeah, I don't know, man. Like it with Star Wars in particular, it really amazes me that we haven't gotten like we haven't gotten a really fully fleshed out like Jedi versus Sith
Oh yeah,
set of
dude, I
movies
went
yet.
into a deep dive of the Jedi versus Sith war that took
Yeah,
place like
like
thousands of years in the past. Man,
the
that
fact,
stuff they need to incorporate that into canon
I
so
mean,
hardcore.
how cool would that be, right? Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love like our blaster wielders. You got your Mandos, you got your Hans, your Chewies and company, like characters that don't traditionally, are not Jedi,
Yeah,
but they're still cool in their own right. But like there have been so many Jedi and so many Sith that we've never seen on screen before, ever.
yeah, like
That
there's so
have.
many cool Sith, and honestly, I've never played like those Knights of the Old Republic games. Like I really should. But man, if they can make a movie like Darth Revan, I think that's how you pronounce his name, like Darth Nihilus, like some of those characters. What's a Darth Bane? I don't think he's from those games, but there's so many cool like Sith that they could really like go crazy with. And
Yeah, and it's always, even as a kid, I remember like just thinking, it's like, these movies are great, but like, where's more Jedi and where's more Sith stuff? Like,
yeah,
as fascinating as politics are in trade agreements, I really want more lightsaber battles.
I'm
It's
actually
like,
like I've been trying. Well, I stopped after my Audible subscription, like free subscription ended. But I
mhm,
was listening to the audiobook of Light of the Jedi.
okay,
It's like during the High Republic era. That's like the new era that they're like created, and it's basically like the Republic at its highest peak,
mhm,
like 200 years before like the Phantom Menace, and like
sure.
also the Jedi are at their peak, and so you kind of like get to see what that looks like, and then also like it's there they plant the seeds of like the Jedi's fall, and it's interesting because it kind of Yoda's still there obviously, but he's not. I don't think he's the head of the Jedi yet, but
Right.
like a lot of it that I found it fascinating that maybe like some of the reason why the Jedi actually fell was because of Yoda's leadership and how Yoda was almost like too spiritual or something. Like he just couldn't see through to look like to see the Sith. I don't know. I found it really interesting. There's like a really good Dooku quote, and I'm yes, Count Dooku. Man, we're getting crazy here. Let's get back on the Marvel. I love Star Wars. But it's harder for me to like write about Star Wars just because like they don't these TV shows that Marvel does just lends themselves so well to like speculation, which
Mhm.
makes it like really fun to talk about.
Oh yeah.
But so I'll just run through this real quick too, like my blog because
Mhm.
I find this stuff really fun. I don't know if you do as well, but
No, I'd say so. I mean, like,
okay,
I like the spitballing enough. Like, I do know that, like, I disengage with a lot of the spitballing on WandaVision, only because like the internet was just,
yeah.
losing its
Well,
shit
this
over.
is like incorporates stuff from WandaVision and What If into it,
Mhm,
and also I think a little bit of Loki.
mhm,
But the real thing that I'm gonna get at here is bringing in this character Cthon or Cthulhu, and also it's been quite obvious for a while that Marvel is setting up their dark universe or their version of the dark universe, which is fun to me. I don't know why, but anyway. So spoilers, but at the end of we know that the main enemy in the new Doctor Strange movie, which is coming out, I believe, next year in March, which that seems way closer than it should be, doesn't it? March 2022. I don't know. That seems like closer than I thought it'd be. But the main enemy is going to be Shem Goroth. Why can't I ever say this name? Say it again, Matt. Shuma Goroth.
Shumagorath.
Shuma Gorath, who's
There you
like a
go.
giant tentacled creature, right?
Mhm.
Like a giant tentacled creature. This is with a big eye. He kind of looks like
Yeah.
Starro from Guardians of the Galaxy, if you've seen that. Except tentacles.
Suicide Squad. You did.
Oh man, yeah. Anyway, sorry, I'm all over the place apparently. Anyway, so he's kind of like one of Marvel's, uh, I'll say, great old ones, or many angled ones. I guess is another version of what they're called.
Sure.
Um, and here's a quote by him. I think this just seems very like crazy, and kind of very H.P. Lovecraft, which I love so much. I love this kind of stuff. So I'm sorry, Matt, but this is Shimogorath. Before all was, I was. Before time was, I waited. I fed on the screaming souls of the universes. I drank the spoiled milk of dead stars. I am the emptiness outside all understanding. I am Shumagorath. So there you go. Like that's exactly what he is. He's like basically this unknowable demonic entity that exists outside the universe but wants to consume it, right?
Right.
Yeah. And he's the main nemesis in Doctor Strange, according to leaks. And you may remember that there was tentacles and a creature trying to emerge from the tentacle from this portal, which had many tentacles, at the end of the first episode of What If? You remember that, Matt?
Yes. No, I've heard, yeah, by means of like seeing your blog and then just from mostly Reddit shenanigans, I've heard this idea of Shimogorath, but I feel like I've heard more people talking about Hive.
Hive, yeah, and also that I've did bring up Hive. So Hive also was in Agents of Shield. I don't know if you ever watched that show.
No, but
Okay.
that's the breadth of my understanding is that
Yeah.
like Hive was a character that
It's
was
been years
introduced.
since I watched that. It was, I believe, season 2 that they had Hive, or maybe season 3.
Mhm.
Anyway, I remember like I can't even remember the character's name, but he like dies and comes back as Hive. And Hive is like the beginning of Hydra, right? Like that's why they have the insignia of the Hydra.
Yeah, the giant squid monster of the round.
Yeah, but I am wondering if they're not going to kind of, and if they don't do that, I'd be kind of disappointed just because they are using Shumagorath in Doctor Strange 2.
Mhm.
So the very fact that they'd have like 2 tentacled creatures, which now that I'm saying it, they probably will, but I'll be kind of disappointed if those don't tie together at all. Plus, it'd be kind of cool to have like Hydra basically worship this creature from beyond the universe. Doesn't and what's his name? Red Skull actually says something to that effect during the episode, I believe.
Yeah, like that, what is it, the essence of Hydra, or
Yeah,
the like the what is it, the emissary of Hydra, something along those lines. Like,
yeah,
but but I mean, like either one would be very interesting, and especially if we're going to be getting. I mean, I don't know. We definitely. I don't think they're going to tie in, um, like the main villain of What If to the MCU much, or like the main cinematic universe. They could do that, but I just kind of get the
yeah.
feeling they won't do that.
I don't know. I'm not sure either. They definitely. I think they did something at the end of Loki. So, and I do think that they are they're definitely going with this multiverse idea, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah.
And it does seem they're gonna. What's his name? Who used to be the head of like the main editor in a Marvel? I can't remember. Shooter, I think his name, just came out and basically said that they gave him like some sort of like $10,000 or something for his to use Secret Wars, which I don't know. Like his version of Secret Wars isn't. I think Tom Hickman's version of Secret Wars, but which is like a battle world essentially where Doctor Doom brings in a bunch of different multiverses onto one single Earth, and then they basically like duke it out with each other. Which it does seem like they might be building something up like that. And there's rumors that Doctor Doom might be in the new Black Panther movie because he has ties to the Black Panther from the comics apparently. So
Dude. Getting Doom in the MCU would be so cool.
Yeah, man, it's crazy how long they've taken to incorporate any of those old Fox, like all those characters like that were only allowed to be used in Fox movies.
I mean, it's taken that long for them to even get the rights to the shit.
Well, yeah, definitely, but like I mean, that was several years ago now, so I thought they might have already, at least put through one character in from that. Maybe they have. I probably am totally off on that, but yeah.
I mean, everybody in WandaVision was like, "Oh, Reed Richards, that's the engineer."
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, that was kind of a major letdown though. When it's just like some random woman. Oh, this is the engineer.
No, I don't disagree. I was like, really? I
Because they
mean,
like kept on like making it like, oh, this is like a big deal. Like I don't know. Anyway,
they heavily implied it would be a big deal, and
yeah.
then it wasn't in fact a big deal.
Anyway, so the many angled ones, which Shumagorath is one of these creatures, and so is the Cthulhu, whatever you pronounce his name. They're described as primordial cosmic entities that inhabit the spaces between universes. They're reported as the memory echoes of the nightmares that plagued the first demons, but they were ancient, pestilential ghoul worlds and dying realities still devoted to their worship. But they were ancient. They were documented as the first beings ever to grow old. The Great Ones have been told to be near gods, originated from the outer dark beyond reality itself. Those hideous ancient things of evil were also stated to be either otherworldly from an unknown origin. Wild guesses include outer space, another dimension, or hell, though they were just also described as being from the stars and as horrific alien beings. And this is all from the Marvel Wiki, by the way. I didn't write that little section.
Sure.
Anyway, so that's Shumagorath. He's apparently one of the leaders or one of the greatest of these many angle ones, as well as Cthulhu, which I want to just throw this out there, and I know I mentioned this in like the first one we ever did together. We talked about this character, but we're bringing it all back around.
We're bringing it all.
Yeah. Cthulhu is one of the leaders of, or not the leaders, but one of the greatest of these characters, or the great many angle ones. And he's also the guy apparently who created the Darkhold, which is now in Wanda's possession. And he also created the vampires, witches, and werewolves within the Marvel universe.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so the reason why I bring this up is because it seems it's leaked that there's going to be a Werewolf by Night television show coming to Disney Plus, which I just want to say, I've said this like I didn't predict it, but I brought up Werewolf by Night before this happened. So I just want to say, like, I feel like my intuition was right on this, as far as Werewolf by Night.
This kind of makes me laugh because I'm in the midst of reading Astonishing Wolfman.
See, it's all connected.
And but that's like the Invincible universe. But I mean, it's funny reading Shumagorath in the light that you presented by means of your blog was funny to me only because like my experience with Shumagorath is they're kind of like a mid-tier fighter from Ultimate Marvel versus Capcom 3.
Interesting.
And they're a tentacled monster, that's for sure, but they're like this big. Like they're not very large at all. Yeah. So seeing this depiction of Shumagorath being this giant monster kind of just makes me laugh because I'm like,
well, to be honest with you, I'm like loving that the old Marvel, like Marvel has incorporated like crazy stuff from like they brought in stuff from H.P. Lovecraft. They brought in stuff from Robert E. Howard, who was like Conan the Barbarian. They have like obvious like Chariot of the Gods stuff coming in with like the Eternals, which I love. And I was like, I love doing deep dives on this stuff because like Dane Whitman, who's going to be played by Kit Harington, which I spelled his name wrong right there.
Oh yeah.
He has connections to like apparently George R. Martin utilized this character Dane Whitman to make his Jon Snow character. Like he was so fascinated by this Dane Whitman from Marvel Comics that he based a lot of the Jon Snow like I can't pronounce Azor Ahai lore off Dane Whitman, which I kind of love. And it's kind of weird because like Kit Harington is playing Dane Whitman in the Eternals, and he also obviously played Jon Snow in Game of Thrones.
Right.
So it's like this weird connection.
Which, I mean, it's a sweet connection. I'm also thinking of like, man, I wonder if Kit Harington is tired of playing the same character.
I don't know. Well, the funny thing is too, it's like because there's a scene in Game of Thrones where Jon Snow and shoot, man, it's been so long since I've seen the show, but his half brother who dies at the Red Wedding. You know who I'm talking about? I don't know if I'm drawing his name. Anyway, he's obviously in the Eternals. He's like the main character in the Eternals. But they like depart for the last time, and then people are like, oh, So they're gonna meet up again in the Eternals. So it's just kind of interesting. But that's where they meet up.
Rob.
Rob Stark.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Rob Stark.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I love that stuff about. I love how they incorporated that stuff back in like classic Marvel stuff. It just makes me extremely happy.
Also, super minor side note. I did love the fact that in What If that they reused a lot of like kind of classic lines from the movies in different ways. Like when Peggy comes back out of the portal, Nick Fury says the exact same thing to Peggy as he did to Loki, which was like, put down your weapon, like put down your sword, put down the spear. Like,
Yeah.
like he was as unfazed as he was seeing a horned green gentleman as he was seeing, Captain Carter.
And I'm kind of curious about how that whole thing played out, because obviously she got dragged into the portal and then she emerges in the future, but it seems like she had just like slashed it to pieces. So I'm wondering if there's like some missing time there where we're not really like, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's a time lapse there of things we didn't see, or if it was more of like she fell in then fell out. It was like
it kind of seemed just by her dialogue that there hadn't been much time to pass between.
That's kind of what I was imagining too.
Yeah. But it's kind of weird that she just kind of like emerges and the creature is basically dead and the tentacles are all like ripped to pieces.
Yeah, I don't even know if they necessarily like killed the monster. It's possible, but I mean, I don't know. Who knows? I mean, from what you were saying, about Gamora, she might be very well taking up the Thanos mantle, which we don't know if her ultimate goal is to do the same thing with the Infinity Stones as what Father intended originally, or if like Gamora and Ego with like Peter Quill are going to team up,
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, maybe the evil version of Gamora will team up with the evil version of Peter Quill. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, that would kind of be like to maintain a relationship in that way, but it would be a very different context, right? Like,
but okay, yeah. So I guess just moving on with this, because as far as like these like dark creatures that are coming out of nowhere, like in the Marvel universe, we got like a werewolf. We have werewolves hopefully coming around. We obviously have a Blade movie coming up, and there's been witches were introduced in WandaVision, right? Also the first set leak of, in theory, of Moon Knight happened. I don't know if you saw that.
The announcement of Moon Knight,
of his costume, I should say.
Oh no, I hadn't seen the costume.
Yeah, it's right down here. I'm gonna go through it real fast because I don't want to like spoil it, and I don't know if this will get like taken off because I don't think those, if they're legit, I don't want to get like attacked by like Disney or something. But the main takeaway is that he looks a lot like a mummy. He looks like a mummy, kind of.
So the assumption there is that this is where you're getting the dark universe setup is from this potential leak.
Yeah. So we also have, now we have a mummy kind of coming around. And so people are theorizing, so the Midnight Suns are a group of it's a supernatural team up that's happening. Or sorry, that's happening. That was a in the Marvel comics that included characters like Blade, Werewolf by Night, Morbius, who obviously probably won't be in it, but Doctor Strange, Ghost Rider, Man Thing, and Moon Knight. So I kind of feel like they're setting up another team up here, which I'm kind of excited about.
I don't know. Let's reprise Nick Cage as Ghost Rider here. Yeah,
I'm down for it. If like the multiverse is around, so why not? Like, let's bring him back.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Ghost Rider with Nick Cage at the helm was one of my guilty pleasure movies.
I've actually never seen it.
Really? Well, I mean, like I'm only familiar with the original film. I never did see the like. I guess was it the sequel? Was it a revamp? I don't really know. It didn't really seem like it had the air of a sequel, but maybe it did.
Yeah.
But yeah, the original one was what I really like was super into as a kid.
Huh. Yeah, and I could see them incorporating him into this. I've heard a reason why they might not. apparently the issue with Ghost Rider is, and this also was the problem with the Taskmaster, is that you can't show skulls for whatever reason, like in Chinese cinema. So like they had to redesign Taskmaster's outfit for him to, or her, I guess in this case, for her to be, for that movie to even air in China. So apparently Ghost Rider, who's obviously his not outfit, but like his visage is like
Right.
a flaming skull. Might have to change too.
I mean, that just sounds like China misses out. Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah.
You want to have some stupid arbitrary rule about what can be shown in cinemas? Then
Yeah, I don't know what it is about skulls. We don't like, or it's controversial apparently. But
we all have them. They're all inside us and they're wet.
hey,
deal with it.
No, I don't know. All right, we're not talking about that. I don't like to think about it. I don't like to think I'm a skeleton. Anyway, so yeah, there's like people talking online. So Feige is basically just like stealing. He's like just want to like, so the Dark Universe, which was Universal's thing, they were like going to try and make a Dark Universe. Do you remember that? The first one was supposed to be the Mummy. This is like
the Dooku, as it's named, the Dark Universe Cinematic Universe.
Oh, the Dooku, yeah.
This
anyway, so they
canceled
it after one movie, which was the Mummy. With that was like a reboot with Tom Cruise that didn't do very well. So
yeah, because it was not a good movie.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I just wasn't interested really to see it. It wasn't interesting.
You shouldn't be. It's not worth it.
And then people were like, "Oh, so and Captain Carter basically is kind of like a Wonder Woman." That first Wonder Woman movie. So like Feige's like moving in. He's like, I'm gonna incorporate it all into my universe.
I mean, you know, quite frankly, Kevin Feige and company have largely been able to string together some of the like more unknown MCU characters and turn them into a wildly successful franchise.
Yeah. Household names. It's
interesting. Like it, you could not probably find an 8-year-old boy right now who didn't know who Iron Man was. Like that just wouldn't happen, right? But like prior,
or Star-Lord, Groot,
or Star-Lord, yeah, Groot. Like you fucking ask people who Iron Man was years ago before these movies came out, it'd be like, Iron Man? You mean like the song? Like, yeah. The like, so if there's going to be anyone or any entities that could bring this all together and do it like a dark universe, you know, of monsters in the MCU, then it sure as shit is going to be Kevin Feige and company. Like,
yeah, and I think what Kevin Feige has on other studios or on other people that run studios, I think he genuinely is kind of a nerd, which I think a lot of the other studios are kind of run by suits. And I don't think Kevin Feige isn't like an amazing businessman, because he obviously is, but I think he legitimately cares about his characters and like how it all comes together, which definitely shows.
Yeah. Well, it's a stamp of quality. I mean, just look at the care and the love that is taken with every. I mean, look at What If, you know, like my mentioning of Nick Fury and that line he used, like he basically used the same line of dialogue with Loki as he did with Peggy Carter. Like, did they have to do that? Of course not. Like, who cares, you know? But like, they went out of their way to do that, to have like a good mirroring of like what originally happened versus this what if situation. Like, they go out of their way as creators to harken back to things that we would recognize, or things that maybe no one but a few would recognize at a glance, you know? It's attention to detail like that that really sells these franchises to people. So the direct comparison obviously is like, we could even talk about the Dooku in this context, but like DC is terrible traditionally, as we've seen, at like really bringing these characters together in a way that seems very meaningful.
Yeah. I mean, DC, in a way, I kind of like what DC has going on right now, just because it seems like, unlike Marvel, like their stuff is pretty disjointed from each other, which I think can really make some really unique products. Like the Suicide Squad, which we can talk about a little later. I don't think nothing like that would probably come out of the MCU. You know, that's pretty wild and out there, unless the new Deadpool does something crazy. But which it could. I mean, it's supposedly coming out. I don't think next year, but the year after, in theory. Maybe I don't know. Maybe 2024.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So okay. So ending with this part, Chthon. Chthon. He's one of the great old ones. He's one of the most powerful ones. He has ties to the Darkhold, obviously, and ties to this kind of dark universe. So my pet theory, one of them, is that he's going to be another Marvel heavy coming out soon, just like what's his name? The Conqueror guy. So that's my theory.
Okay. Yeah.
Kang, yeah. It kind of seems like Marvel is building up multiple big nemesis, versus just like one like huge one. At least that's kind of what I assume that they're gonna go for. Because if they have Doom, if they have Kang, if they have like a great old one, I mean, it's because that kind of leads into my next point here. It seems like all these Marvel shows, or a lot of these Marvel, they're kind of building out these teams into the like. We got the Thunderbolts, obviously, with like U.S. Agent and Yelena, and potentially another like other characters like what's his name, Abomination, and Zemo maybe, and then the Midnight Suns, which could have characters like Blade, Werewolf by Night, Moon Knight, Man Thing, which that'd be great because I'm a big fan of Swamp Thing, so you know I'd like Man Thing. And obviously Young Avengers, which you could include like Miss Marvel, Ironheart, Wanda Envision's kids, and they seem to be making a lot of those like what's the new Hawkeye, I can't, Kate Bishop, and apparently I don't know if you know this either. This is another spoiler that Ironheart will be Riri Williams is going to be introduced in the new Black Panther movie.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that character, so I gotta say I'm not.
No, I know very little as well.
Yeah, they also seem to be changing Miss Marvel's powers, which I'm not really huge on, but
yeah, she's kind of stretchy now.
well, no, because that was her original powers, where she could like get stretchy and enlarge herself, but apparently she can fire. Like there's, it seems she'll just be able to fire like powers or energy or something.
I mean, I think that's a version of her that's existed before. It seems like the mantle of like Captain Marvel and like Ms. Marvel, it seems like a lot of that's kind of been mixed a lot over the years, as far as I can tell. Because correct me if I'm wrong, didn't Rogue from the X-Men like get her powers from like soaking up power from a Marvel, like from a Captain Marvel or something? Like,
I know she got her powers. Yeah, it was something like that, but I don't know what character she absorbed to become like super strong and can fly.
Let's see. Yeah, because like, yeah, just that's really gonna bother me.
Yeah, I can look it up. Or
yeah, I'm trying to. Yeah, let's see. Eventually, check the wrong. Okay, yeah, with that, she got into a fight with Ms. Marvel during one of her early missions with a group led by Mystique called the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Well, that's a little on the nose. But she permanently absorbed her foes' memories and powers.
Yeah, I seem to recall that.
And so, but yeah, like it seems like the mantle of Captain Marvel, Ms. Marvel, stuff like that. Like Ms. Marvel clearly had powers at this point that were like invulnerability and super strength, which is super not what I'm used to seeing.
Well, I think Miss Marvel, this version of her is, they're using Kamala Khan, I believe her name is.
Yes.
And she's a relatively recent character, so her powers have, as far as I'm aware, have traditionally been being able to enlarge her body and like kind of become stretchy, sort of like Reed Richards. But I think she can also like grow to like a bigger version of herself. So
Yes.
she's like a mixture of like Ant-Man who can enlarge and also Reed Richards.
Mhm. Yeah, which I don't know. I mean, I'll be because there is a slated Marvel show, right? Like where it's
Mhm.
Captain Marvel and Ms. Marvel,
Well,
and
there's a show called Miss Marvel, which introduces Kamala Khan's character,
mhm.
which should be coming out later this year or early 2022. But there's also a movie coming out called Miss Marvels, which will be about Carol Danvers and Monica Rambeau and Kamala Khan. They'll all
Yeah.
three be in it.
Okay, so that's a film. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so like we're kind of going to be getting a big dose of all them. But no, I mean, I'm on board, man. Like all these different teams we're talking about, like
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I could very easily see, yeah, like the Thunderbolts, especially being like your Suicide Squad esque
Yeah.
team.
Well, like
Because
my theory behind it was because I'm kind of wondering like if the days of billion-dollar movies are sort of like over, and especially with the whole the whole thing with COVID. uh I'm just kind of wondering like maybe what Marvel's doing is they're like, oh, some people like horror movies, we'll make like this Midnight Suns for them. Oh, you like action movies, we'll do it with you'll have your team, which is the Thunderbolts. Oh, it's like you teenagers, we could do like a Young Avengers. Like they like that kind of stuff, or maybe you like fantasy, then you have the Eternals.
right.
So that's kind of what I think they might be doing. Or of course, like Guardians of the Galaxy, you feel like science fiction. Um,
Oh yeah, no, I think they're definitely they're trying to reach as many demographics as possible.
yeah, and I
And
don't know. Like it seems like they have obviously haven't announced a new Avengers movie, and I'm kind of wondering what they're gonna do with that in the future. Um, and X Men, I'm still really curious what they're gonna end up doing with them because I
I
don't.
don't know how the X-Men are going to get introduced, what their role is going to be, because I want full send like a really awesome introduction of the X-Men because they've been gone for such a long time, and
Yeah.
like proper X-Men movies. I'm not really going to count Dark Phoenix as a proper X-Men film because that movie was just really lost to the wind in
Sorry about
terms
that.
of its importance. Very good.
Let my dog in. Um, yeah, yeah, and I want to plug another movie I just watched recently. I saw it on Amazon Prime. It's about Chris Claremont, who uh, he basically he wasn't the creator of the X Men, but he was the guy that basically really popularized them and made them into like the household names that we know today.
Sure.
And he was on that title for like 15 years, I think, or it might be 13 years. It was some crazy long amount of time, and yeah, he's the guy that made them what we know today. So just
Yeah,
really
man.
fascinating.
Oh, I'm so excited for more Marvel stuff. All
I
this stuff has just been so cool, and
Yeah. Um, and that's basically all I have as far as what if. Um, I guess if I was gonna, I'm not gonna even rate it yet. I don't want to rate it until it's over. But I'm definitely along for the ride here. And
I mean, man, if gun to my head had a rated right now, I'd be like 10 out of 10. It's just been
oh
so good.
wow,
Like it's
yeah. See, Matt, I feel like I'm like easy to please sometimes, but I feel like you're way easier to please
I don't know. Like I just think that there's some really interesting things going on in this show already. Like I think it's just done a really good job from the get go of introducing these characters in these different lights. And yeah, like there are some negative bits, I guess, but like it seems so like it seems like small potatoes compared to what the show could ultimately be. So
Yeah, no, I'm well. If I was gonna, I've already criticized it, but and my criticism really was based off episode one, but I wanted to see them get like really crazy with it. Like I wanted to see them like do some crazy ideas. And after episode two, my worries about that are a little abated for sure. I think that they will do crazier ideas. And apparently we're gonna get like a party tour, which I'm kind of excited about. In
the
episode
par-
four, apparently it's all gonna be about party. No, that's sorry. I think episode 4 is going to be about Doctor Strange, and apparently it's going to be the best episode of the season. They're saying,
Hmm.
just as
I'll
like
be the
as far
judge of
as
that.
emotional impact, as far as I understand. Um,
Yeah, see,
but
just like I don't know. Well, because I mean, clearly this is a multiverse show,
yeah,
and so
it's
like,
interesting too that both this show and Loki both got a second season.
mhm.
Um, because this whole multiverse thing, like I think it must be stretching out further than just a few years. This must be going on for a while. Like they're not gonna just if they're doing 2 seasons of these shows, like the multiverse isn't going away anytime soon. So
I would assume so. I mean, it would really surprise me if at some point we didn't get some like multiverse Spider-Man stuff going on in the MCU,
uh
specifically with Spider-Verse. Like,
we should watch the new trailer because I think you're gonna be sort of happy about that theory.
so excited.
Do you want to do it? Do you want to try and watch this thing if it is
All right,
available?
sure. Let's
Okay,
let's do the thing. You
let
do
me
a
try
screen
and pull it
share.
up.
We're gonna do a we're fuck it. We're doing it live.
Oh, what is this, Matt? Here, let me share it. I'm gonna share my
Shit.
screen.
Oh,
Are you
shit.
excited? I'm kind of
Oh,
excited, not
shit.
gonna lie.
Do the thing. Oh, shit.
Okay, can you see that?
Yeah. Oh, damn. What's this? What is this actual projection bullshit?
Okay, let's pause it real fast. I'm gonna make this screen big. Okay, can you still see everything? All right.
Yep, I can still see everything. Hope I can hear everything.
Okay, I'm just gonna keep my. All right, there we go.
Yeah, I don't have any audio, unfortunately, but
Oh, you don't?
no.
Ah, okay. I wonder why. That's interesting. You think everything that I could.
Let's
Uh,
see.
I don't want to spoil it, but I really want you to see the end of this thing because you're gonna be pretty excited. I think if you're liking the multiverse concept. Anyway, I don't want to spoil it for you, Matt.
So fucking good. Okay, I'll watch it and then send you my reaction.
Okay.
But oh man, no, I'm excited for this shit. It's gonna be
Dang, I
so
kind of
fun.
want to do a reaction video. I think that'd be really fun. But yeah,
We need to figure out a way to be able to do that because yeah, if I can't hear anything, then
yeah. Huh. Crap. I wonder. Okay, what about this? Shoot, I was hoping I could do like subtitles. That wouldn't be quite as good for you, but
well
at least we
no,
could still watch together.
go to your like PC settings and change your it shouldn't affect Zoom or whatever we're using. Um, I think in theory, if you change your output to your computer speakers, um, then maybe it should work. Unless I'm already coming out of your speakers, in which case that means there's no
No,
other.
you are coming on my speakers, so
Okay,
I
then
don't
I
know.
don't know. I don't know why it's not working
Yeah, I
then.
don't know either. It's probably something that they use to protect
Well, on
YouTube
that
or
wet
something.
fart of a note,
Yeah. Anyway, well, I think I don't know. Do you just want to like just give a brief review of Suicide Squad then end this thing? Because I don't think we're going to be able to talk about it again in the future because it's getting kind of
yeah,
super fast.
no, I think my personal opinion is that the newest Suicide Squad movie with Idris Elba and company, was so wildly better than the original with Will Smith. Um, they're just, I don't even know. They really seem to take the idea of like being able to literally kill these characters quite seriously to the point that,
Yeah.
like, well,
It is a
spoilers.
Suicide Squad.
If you haven't seen the movie, spoilers, pause. Okay. Looking like Captain Boomerang just eats shit in like the first 10 minutes of this movie.
Yeah.
And only one person or two, yeah, two people from the original film like really end up lasting that long. And ultimately only one of them does. And so like it's just I think they did a really good job at making these characters relatable, but also still like really edgy. John Cena was really funny. I had
Yeah.
no idea his acting chops were even like remotely that good. Like,
Yeah. I mean, he definitely has like a Drax sort of like, or a Dave Bautista sort of like, what's the word I'm looking for?
like
Um,
dryness, I guess.
Dry,
Or,
yeah, dry humor. Like he's really good at that,
mhm.
just like Dave Bautista. Which is interesting because obviously they're both from like the same sort of world, the wrestling
Right.
world. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think the story was really good. I thought everything really made a lot of sense. I love that the cutaways that we get for the time frames on things, like this happened 8 minutes earlier or whatever. Like that timing is like pretty precise throughout the course of the movie. Like they don't fuck around with like, oh, 2 hours earlier and having this like a little brief bit of exposition. No, it's like this happened 8 minutes ago. This section of movie's 8 fucking minutes long. Deal with it. Like,
Yeah.
and I think that's really cool. Like the continuity was really great. My
Yeah.
only regret with this movie is that I think Starro is a really cool villain. So having him kind of be nixed already seemed a little bit of a bummer to me. But other than that,
Yeah.
really
But I
good.
mean, I don't think DC was ever actually really ever going to use it beyond that, like as a joke, you know. So I don't think it was ever going to be like the main villain of like
I mean, a villain
Justice
that
League
can
film.
control superheroes, like the latch one of those things to
Yeah.
fucking Superman's face and
I listened
watch.
to like a good YouTube video where he's like, yeah, because I kind of agree. Like I really enjoyed the movie. I do kind of feel like the ending was sort of like missing something,
Mhm.
like a certain level of like craziness or something. And like he suggested, I can't remember who this was. I want to say it was a YouTuber called Captain Midnight.
Mhm.
Basically, since it's already been established that like the star can like go like his little baby stars can like latch onto your face and actually like even bring back like a dead person in a way. Like they should have just brought back the people who died at the beginning of the film
Ah,
as like nemesis to face, or
sure.
which I think would be kind of a fun idea.
Mhm.
Um, Not
I
like
mean,
drawn
clearly
out too much, but
we have to watch out for Weasel now. Uh,
yeah, yeah, that character, man, like the way he moves, I can't even like.
so awkward. God,
Yeah,
I hated it
but
so much.
that the Weasel was motion capped by James Gunn's brother Sean Gunn, who also does
Really,
like Rocket Raccoon um,
that's awesome.
and what's his name from he's on the team.
Mhm.
I can't remember the character's name, but he's the guy who inherits the uh Yondu's pin.
Oh, him, right?
Yeah,
I just know him from Gilmore Girls.
yeah,
It's
he's on
like,
Gilmore Girls. I know, I didn't know that either until I was like watching that with like my mom. I'm like,
mhm.
whoa, look at
Fucking
that.
Kirk,
And
man,
also what's her
it's
name's
weird.
on that show? Melissa McCarthy. I'm like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah. But yeah, no, Suicide Squad was really, really good. And it's part of what kind of breaks my heart of like how poorly it's been doing in the theaters.
Yeah.
Not really from any fault of its own. Um, what with COVID and everything rearing its ugly head even further. But it just is it was so much more of what I was looking for than the original movie.
Yeah.
The original one just like took itself so fucking seriously.
I think what I'm most bummed out about it is not
Mhm.
for Suicide Squad's sake, just for future movie sake, because
Yeah.
like I want to see like movies like that continue to get made, like
Mhm.
where the studio just gives such creative power to like the director and like the creative people rather than interfering so much. But I don't know. I just I want James Gunn to be able to keep making crazy movies like that.
Mhm.
And like it's like such an interesting movie. It's like I can't even describe what that movie's like. It feels like all the characters in it should be on the bottom of a skateboard. Um, it's like an
Sure.
exploitation movie, and that's what James Gunn started out as, and as that he started out with Trauma,
Mhm.
which is fascinating. Like that he's risen up as far as he has, um, and he has some little bit of controversy in his past, but like
I
I think
mean,
it's cool. Like I'm excited. I'm sorry that it didn't do that well. But I will say this: apparently, Wonder Woman 2 was given the lady behind that movie, and I can't remember her name right now, was given full creative power of that one, and that did not turn out very well.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. I mean, Wonder Woman 1984 was so bad, so capital B bad.
Yeah,
So
that movie was so awful. I don't know what that. There was like no action in it. Like Steve was like that's his name, Steve Trevor, right? Steve Trevor,
yeah, Steve, is it Steve Trevor? Is that
something
right?
like that. Yeah, he just like I mean, essentially he was the guy that he was inhabiting. His like body was like essentially used by Wonder Woman. It's like
Oh
weird
God, it
looking.
just like so.
Yeah,
Why introduce this weird implication of
I don't know.
like just like consent question mark? I don't even know if that's the right question to be asking. Like,
And then
but
she's
just
like just talking
why?
to the guy at the end of the movie too, like, oh, hi. It's so
Right, I
strange.
know. Like, that and then I mean, clearly my favorite scene was definitely when she's tumbling with those two child-sized dummies on the interstate. Fantastic scene. God,
Dude, I don't know. Like,
so bad.
I actually really dug Zack Snyder's Snyder Cut or whatever Justice League.
Oh, Justice League. That was a I
Yeah,
I mean, I think it was a superior version of the movie.
I really love
Um,
that scene with Wonder Woman where she goes to the bank and like saves those people from the terrorists,
mhm.
which I think was also in the original, but was nowhere near like the level of what that scene was. It was just so cool. I think they did a
Yeah.
really good job with that. And to see like I would want to see more of that kind of like action rather than whatever we got, which was
I mean, I don't know. Like, it's when you see we're so going off the rails here, but like when you see the difference between the original Justice League and the Snyder Cut, or the theatrical release versus the Snyder Cut, you get a sense of like why Ray Fisher is so mad about
he was a good
how the movie
character
turned
in
out.
that film. He was really good.
Yeah, they cut out so much of
Yeah.
Cyborg's backstory, and like he was a very likable character in the Snyder Cut, like way more than he
Yeah, he
was
was
just
like
an
the kind of the
asshole in
heart of
the
the team
original.
actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like, dude, the hot dog scene with Barry, like in the Flash and the dog shot, and like the dog store, like was a fantastic scene. It's like one of those things where that just seems like such a home run of a scene to put in to make your character likable, and they just were like, nah.
Dude, you're making me hungry for hot dogs.
So sorry for multiple reasons.
um no
But
yeah, totally. Yeah, no, I agree. That I really like I would turn that movie on expecting not to like it. I'm like, I don't know if I can get through 2 hours or like 4 hours of this movie. I watched the whole thing in one sitting. I'm like, oh man, I actually really am enjoying myself right now.
yeah, 3.5 hours did not feel like really. I
Yeah.
think it's when it was like 3.5 hours. But yeah,
I
like
think
the
it's
3.5 hours
four. I think
did
it's
not
4 hours.
feel bad at
Yeah.
all. Like I think we took one break just to, like go to the bathroom, but like we
Yeah.
watched it all in one sitting. Just really kills me that like canonically speaking, that movie's not
Do you know what they're doing
really relevant.
with the Flash movie? Do you know what they're doing with that?
No, do you? I feel like I'm going to be
It's
disappointed.
no, it's cool.
Are they
So
actually? Are they doing Flashpoint Paradox?
uh I don't know this is showing up. So they're yeah, they're doing a version of Flashpoint. So I
Okay.
believe what's gonna happen is that uh Barry is going to run so fast, obviously, that he's going to be able to go into a new multiverse, a new universe. And the universe he goes into is going to be Michael Keaton's old Batman movies. Like Michael Keaton's going to be Batman.
I've heard that he's reprising his role. I
Yeah,
didn't know the context.
isn't that crazy? That is so crazy.
I mean, I really like that idea. I just don't know the longevity of. Yeah, like I just don't know like where do you go from there? Like, do you have do you bring out like a Christopher Reeves lookalike Superman to like guest
Just
star in this
well, I don't know if like
universe?
the Michael Keaton and Christopher
No,
Reeves ever technically inhabited the same.
no, I don't think they did either. That would just be me spitballing about like
Yeah.
what they could possibly do, because
Speaking of Batman, I want to recommend another movie that I watched recently. Val Kilmer, because he was Batman as well, and I think Batman and Robin.
yes,
The one with the Riddler and
that
by
cinematic masterpiece that is that movie.
yeah, the Riddler by Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones does Two-Face in that film. There's the
Where are you
the,
going with this? Are you
no,
recommending
sorry,
this movie?
sorry. There's a movie on Amazon Prime about Val Kilmer's life called Val, and it sounds terrible. I highly recommend it. I really enjoyed that film a lot. So,
all right, duly noted.
yeah,
Well,
I know you're not gonna watch it. It's not nerdy, but I really liked it. So,
I will see if I end up with a free evening.
anyway, Flashpoint, yes, that's crazy. It's so crazy. I just think of like what people are gonna think like 20 years from now when they look back on like our movies. They're like, wow, this is such a like if you're a nerd, like this is the best time to be a nerd. Seriously, as far as like movie wise.
Oh
They're
yeah,
doing so many crazy ideas and like so many cool like this is like can you imagine 20 years ago from now like the stuff we're getting is just insanity and
oh yeah.
and you can think who you can thank for that is freaking Kevin Feige, I think, because like he's changed the industry and made it
Well,
into
Kevin
like this.
Feige and shoot, John Favreau.
Oh
Like,
yeah, John Favreau.
he directed the first Iron Man movie.
He's also
and,
directed
like,
The Mandalorian, or not? He
mhm,
created them. He's a main guy behind The Mandalorian. Him and Dave
mhm.
Filoni. He's
Like,
also done a crap ton of other. He's done so many other things too.
yeah, they're both incredibly talented people who know like where they want to allocate resources and who they pick for their talent. Like, clearly have a vision and know what they're doing, and they care enough about the quality to not just push it out.
Yeah, though John Favreau's version of The Lion King notwithstanding, because I didn't care for that.
I mean, let's not talk about remakes of movies that didn't ask for it.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started on remakes, man. I've been on a fucking tear today about how much I don't care about more Avatar: The Last Airbender being put into this fucking universe. God damn it.
You mean the Netflix one?
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
so mad about that because the creators aren't involved in the project anymore. It's going to be a fucking train wreck. Man.
Yeah. I don't trust Netflix, to be honest with you, with their stuff. I just never really trust them.
The Netflix adaptation of most things that have been done by Netflix have arguably been pretty not great.
Yeah, I'm trying to like think of one. I guess Umbrella Academy. I haven't seen it, but
that's a notable exception.
yeah.
I think, my personal opinion, but I haven't read the comics. So
yeah. Jupiter's Legacy, I didn't really care for that much. I thought it was fine. I tried to watch
Death Note is so bad.
what's that one with the boy with the antlers? I'm drawing a blank. I tried to watch that. I couldn't really get into that.
Sweet Tooth.
Sweet Tooth, which is based on a graphic or comic series, but
I've heard good things about Sweet Tooth.
I tried to watch it. I did read a little bit about. I did read some Sweet Tooth, and the tone is just so different from the graphic novels. It's like, yeah, the show seems like a Steven Spielberg movie, but the graphic novels are super dark, like way darker, way darker. And I kind of wanted it to be that way. I was not expecting.
You like everything dark. Let's be real.
No, that's not true. I like SpongeBob.
This is when I put on my detective hat and go doubt. No, on that note, though, we should probably wrap up here. We're going to be nearing our 2-hour mark here.
Yeah, it's getting late for you down in Austin.
What, Austin?
You are the best Bill Burr impression. Who's now a part of Star Wars, which is great.
Which is amazing. Space Boston.
I like how you remember that. Okay, yeah, we can end it.
But no, I want to thank everyone for listening today, whenever the hell this ends up in anyone else's hands. Thank you all so much for listening. We have a great time talking about nerdy stuff here on the Nerds of the North podcast. So you all enjoy the rest of your evenings, and we will talk to you guys next week to discuss another episode of What If and whatever the hell else we want to talk about, because clearly we have a problem.
Man, we haven't done this for 2 weeks and 3 weeks, and I just want to say, I know I'm like continuing on after your ending, but we'll try not to have that happen again. So it was good talking to everyone. We will be back next week, I hope. So
Yeah,
bye.
absolutely. Bye.